It's your Average Coach podcast. I'm Anthony Woods. I'm here with Cameron Dietz, Assistant Director of Performance
Yep.
at Cincinnati, um, University of Cincinnati. He's been there for 2 years now. And then I'm going to let him introduce himself and talk about himself, and we'll get started.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, like you said, been here for the last 2 years, work with baseball and golf here. Have been, I've been at Delaware, Northern Colorado, North Texas, Utah Valley University, so just kind of all over the country, really, working with tons of sports, baseball, wrestling, soccer, worked with football. So yeah, kind of been all over the place and kind of done a lot of it. So excited to be on.
Awesome. So where are you from? Let's get started with that.
Yeah, I'm from Colorado,
Okay.
born and raised, went to undergrad at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, and then ended up going to grad school at Northern Colorado as well. So it just that was the undergrad was planned to go there, and then grad school was, where am I going to be able to get in? Um, where am I going to be able to get in and be a grad assistant, so that I could do, have this experience in this field. So.
Yeah. So what was your undergrad in?
My undergrad was in health and human performance.
Okay.
So it's a bachelor's of science, and then my master's degree is what does it say? It's a master's of science in sport and exercise science. So it
Nice.
was the emphasis in like exercise physiology. So
Oh, what's your connection with sports?
um, my connection with sports, I grew up playing baseball.
Okay.
I grew up playing a lot of sports, but I essentially individualized and specialized in baseball starting in high school, really. And then kept playing, played in undergrad, wanted to play professional baseball. I think like every other baseball player or every other, whatever you play football, you probably wanted to play professionally at some point. And then just realized earlier probably than some other people that
Mhm.
I wasn't going to play. And so how could I stay involved with the sport? And really kind of fell in love with the weight room and strength conditioning and human health performance, and just trying to figure out how I can continue to do that. And so I found out strength conditioning was an actual thing. And then it was a career that you could actually make. So been kind of doing that, interned, again, been all over the country. So just trying to stay in the field and stay involved with sports as much as I can. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think all coaches had that realization, like, yeah, this isn't gonna go how I envisioned. Like, I'm not gonna go pro. Like, at some point, I was like, I'm not gonna get taller than 5'7". Like, it's just not gonna happen. All right, well, let's see how I can keep getting involved in this sport that I love. So,
Yeah, the lucky
yeah, I
ones
think,
find out or figure it out earlier, I think, than others.
yeah,
And then sometimes, not to like, crap on anybody, but like I think there's sometimes you got some people that are a little more delusional, and they don't realize it until a little bit not too late, right? But the sooner that you realize it, and that's okay. There's, less than 1% of people end up playing professional sports. Um, and I think just finding what you're passionate about, and if it's sports, how can you stay involved with it? So.
yeah. And so, like, on my side with coaching, um, like I try to convey that message to kids without being like too harsh. Um, but it is a harsh reality that you have to learn. Like, hey, like, I broke it down actually in my sports marketing class. Like, here's the amount of scholarships that each program has at the Division 1 and Division 2 level. Like, there's, let's just say 34 scholarships, right? Like, that's 34 out of everybody. Like, so like you kind of have to keep an open mind, when it comes to like recruiting and going to smaller schools or going to JUCO. Like, it's not going to be a fairy tale ending for most, and I think that's hard for some kids to realize. But I feel like the better that we can prepare them, the better that they can, you know, come to that realization. Like, okay, I understand. Um, so, I guess in that realm, um, how closely do you work with the baseball team? Um, and the golf team as it pertains to like recruiting, like evaluating recruiting or anything like that? Are you a part of that process at all?
So I'm not involved at all with recruiting in terms of like evaluation or getting kids on campus or anything like that. The closest thing that I've ever had to that is assisting setting up some of our like technology and stuff
Okay,
at like a camp, like setting it
got
up.
it.
Like I'm not running any tests or anything like that at a camp. Um, or anything along those lines. My main involvement with recruiting is going to be on official visits, meeting with the prospective student athlete and their family, and just simply taking them through the weight room, talking about what we do, what we have, what we don't have. Not really what we don't have. We kind of have everything that you want here. But just kind of breaking down the program, what it looks like, how we do things, some of the results that we've had, stuff like that. So, really, it's just that last like nudge of, hey, you're on campus. Clearly, you're interested. We're clearly interested in you. I'm one of the support staff that's going to be heavily involved in your development and growth. And then how can I just express that and what I'm here to do for you and your kids. So
Got it. What are some things that you um typically, I guess, what is like your day-to-day role as it pertains to like the baseball team? I guess that's the closest coming up.
yeah.
Um, what's your
So
day-to-day look like?
so with baseball specifically, um, we don't lift every day. Well, pitchers, we typically have at least somebody in because our pitching lifts and running and everything like that is always going to be based around their throwing schedule.
Got it.
So if a guy has a high intent throwing day, they're going to lift that day for sure. And so, especially in the fall, I've got guys in 5 to 6 days a week. Um, Hitters will lift anywhere between 2 and 4 days a week, depending on what time of year it is. And then hitters typically will go before practice, based around their class schedule. So we'll have a couple different morning groups, whether they can come in before or right after class, and that way they've got time to go get lunch. They've got time to get breakfast. We don't get them up super early. Um, so our groups right now are like 9:30 and 10:30, or 9:30 and
Okay.
11:30, something like that. So they got time to get breakfast. They've got time to eat something after, before practice. Practice is typically 1 to 4.
Okay.
So we'll go out in the fall. We do a lot more individual practices. So we'll have guys hit from 1 to 2, another group hit from 2 to 3, another group hit from 3 to 4. Our pitchers will all show up together and they'll do their individual throwing program, whether it's long toss that day, whether it's a short box, whether it's a bullpen live, whatever it may be. And then once we get into fall ball or spring ball, we'll do more team practice type things where it's, hey, 1 to 4, we'll warm up at this time. We'll do our defensive work. We'll do our, whatever, and kind of go through that practice plan. So for me, it's here in the morning. If I've got golf lifts early. So we'll lift typically 6:30, 7 in the morning for golf. And then hitters will lift. And then I'll have a little bit of time to either train or grab something to eat, go out to practice, make sure guys are warmed up, good to go there. If they're in groups, I'm not out there as often in their individual stuff because there's just less to do. They're doing their routines, they're hitting and everything like that. And then pitchers will lift after practice, so typically 4 to 5, 5 to 6, something like that. So the long days are about 12, 13-hour days, and then the short days are, hey, no golf in the morning, maybe no lift in the morning either, just get in for practice around noon. So
Nice. So what are some like I guess benchmarks that you're looking for like as you get closer to your season? Like are there any specific numbers for lifts or velocity for pitches, or like is there anything that you're like looking for key numbers as it pertains to like your athletes?
yeah, I mean, obviously, guys that throw harder are going to be more successful typically, and then guys that have higher exit velocities are going to be more successful. Um, so what we'll do is we'll track all that through the baseball staff. So it's really just a collaboration between hitting and pitching coaches, and then myself. looking at what actually correlates from, like we do a bunch of force plate testing. We test grip, we use VBT. We time sprints, we look at max velocities. We do a lot of things. We test a lot of things. And then just taking a look at what actually correlates and translates. So over time, if our especially impulse is going to be a big correlation between both counter movement and squat jump propulsive impulses for our hitters and pitchers for those exit velocities or throwing velocities. So in the fall, as those go up, we're kind of building the engine a little bit.
Got it.
Obviously, they have to translate that mechanically and skill wise to actually being able to throw. So um, there's another strength coach that has this kind of like predicted velocity. I would say like equation, and I don't know the equation, but you can look at it and you can say, okay, physically, you can do things similar to or equal levels to guys that throw 93, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever.
Got
And
it.
maybe you still right now throw 90, 91, 92. That means it's not the physical side, it's the skill side. Whereas
Got
some
it.
guys outperform that. Some guys throw harder than they should physically, and it's because the actual way that they move and their actual skill outweighs it, and it actually overperforms and or over uh, like just carries the load a little bit. So those guys are great to work with because it's I think the physical piece, obviously that's my realm. So
Hmm.
when you get somebody in that like outperforms their physical metrics, you're like, cool, this is somebody that if we can get a little bit more strength, rate of force
Yeah.
development, speed, velocity, like if we can get those things to improve, we can see a really good um, jump out on the field. Whereas some guys, they're already physically well developed. It's just they need more time getting the skill down of the sequencing of lower half to upper half, or making sure that they're blocking on that lead leg block. And um but that's hard. Like that's not my side of things. Like we collaborate, but like I'm not working on pitching mechanics down here, right?
Yeah.
So um anyway, so benchmark wise though, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, like what I would like to see is all of our force plate jumps are hands on hips. If you've got a 20-inch vertical hands on hips, that's a pretty good number to shoot for. Just really basic numbers. I'm not going to get into like 300, newtons per second or whatever. Like that's really
Yeah.
specific. But yeah, I mean, typically if you can jump 20 inches, you're in a good spot, unless you're underweight, if you're undersized. And then anybody that can run 20 miles an hour, that's a pretty good benchmark as well.
Nice.
Anybody that can hit a 20 mile an hour, whether it's flying 10 or flying 5, within that 20 to 30 yard range, they're typically going to be in a good spot from a physical standpoint.
Nice. And so you are seeing a correlation between um, better athletes being better performing baseball players.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, guys that are strong, especially hitters, guys that are strong, especially upper body strength, whether it's bench or grip or whatever, they're gonna hit the ball harder. And then pitchers, it's not as clear. Like you've got some guys that have really good upper body strength, and again, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. But the guys that have lower body, like really high levels of lower body power and impulse, those are the guys that typically stand out and throw hard. So
Really? Okay. That's
I think it's
interesting.
because like hitting for sure is going to be, it's just a heavier implement. The bat is 30 ounces, the ball's 5 ounces. So I think strength itself in the upper body is going to be a really big role for play a big role in hitting success. In pitching success, I think it's important, but there's definitely not like a like statistical correlation between bench press and throwing velocity in pitching because it's so skill dependent.
Got it. And so
Doesn't
if
mean
there,
that you shouldn't bench. We just talked
okay,
about this on Twitter. Like you should bench press and or do some heavy version of pressing. Like you should develop upper body strength. But
got it.
um, yeah,
So if there was one thing, I guess, that you could tell a younger athlete, like this maybe isn't going to be the magic pill, but this would benefit you greatly. Would it be still bench pressing, or would it be like a different exercise or?
Again, like there's not one thing. If it was like, hey, you can only choose one exercise, I would probably go. If I could only choose one exercise total, I guess I'd just say trap bar deadlift, because I think there's a whole bunch of it's just a very it's the safer version or safest version of a deadlift. It's more of a squat than a hinge, but it's still going to build higher levels or high levels of posterior chain strength in terms of upper back, um, and the grip required for it. So
Got it.
I go trap bar deadlift over like a back squat any day.
Okay.
Um, but that's just like you're still leaving quite a bit on the table there, right?
Yeah.
Um, on the flip side, and that's with baseball. I would say if you've got like maybe any other athlete, I would honestly lean towards an Olympic movement, probably a power clean variation of some kind, or a clean
Got
variation of some kind. Because then you're still getting the squat, you're still getting the pull, you're still getting triple extension, you're still.
got it. Um,
So I think that it's not one or the other, but I would say that the things to be successful in sports are force production and how fast you can do it. And so you need levels of both. You need to be able to produce force and you need to be able to do it quickly. Um, and those are just weight room exercises. I could go into plyometrics. I think like if you could train sprinting and plyometrics like out on the track, like in your realm
yeah.
versus weight room, and which one would you rather prefer? I will choose the plyometrics and sprinting over weight room performance
Got it.
because I think that the physicality and the elasticity and being able to project your own body is paramount. Um,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, sports are performed outside. They're not team sports are performed outside. They're not performed in the weight room. So unless it's powerlifting or Olympic weightlifting or bodybuilding, those three sports are the three that like okay, you must train, right? Every other sport, I would lean towards some form of plyometrics or sprint speed training if you had to get rid of everything. But these are all theoreticals. Like you should do both. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. It's refreshing to hear you say um trap bar deadlift. I'm kind of biased because I've done the heavy squat lifting right from football and stuff like that, and I don't see the benefits now as much. And so I try to protect athletes as much as I possibly can. I know that everybody wants to bench. They want to have these huge numbers. Um, but I'm trying to find what's the best way to, I guess, circumvent just that specific thing. Because there are a lot of risks, I think, if you back squat improperly. Um,
yeah, so I mean, we don't back or front squat.
yeah,
We do a bunch of split stance work, true single leg unilateral work, lunging, lateral, both frontal plane, and sagittal plane. Split squat variations, and we like load them up. We'll go Bulgarians or rear foot elevated, like heavy. Like it's not like we don't do high levels of like high loads, right? Our intensities are high. We do quite a bit of weight with them. The biggest thing that I've found is even just going from a bilateral to a more unilateral stance, we just don't have as many uh, back issues and complaints of low back pain. And as
yeah,
somebody that like has experienced low back pain, I think most Americans, most people in general have or do. There's nothing that's just more frustrating than dealing with like you're just waking up and your low back being sore and stuff like that.
yeah.
And granted, that can happen if you do any exercise improperly.
Hmm.
Like that's not to say that again, like back squat's not a bad exercise. I've programmed it before successfully. I give golf the option whether they want to trap bar deadlift, front squat, or back squat. The biggest thing is with baseball. I take the decision out of their hands a little bit, because I know that the culture of baseball, and my guys especially, like, they're going to go heavy. Like, whatever you give them, they're going to do as heavy as they can,
Yeah.
as they're going to go at it. Like, they're just going to attack it. And we have a good group. We have a good culture. And so I want to use the best, uh, I want to use the best exercises in terms of best exercise selection possible.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, we've got anybody that ever has any issues with any axial loading at all, especially in that bilateral stance, we'll belt squat because we have the ability to.
Hmm.
We'll do Kaiser speed squats and Kaiser jumps and stuff like that as well, because we have the equipment to do so. So it really depends on what you have. I'm not a I'm not a big believer that, like, you have to back squat um, to have benefit. Now, if it was, you know into the multiverse, and you were looking at my program now versus my program if you added back squats, which one would be better? Maybe the back squat version is better, but I safely am going to assume that you'd also have more lower back complaints and or
Yeah.
issues, and therefore I'm good in this universe.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm on the right track there. That gives me some reassurance. Um, as for you said you guys do work on some VBT stuff. How often do you guys track stuff like that? Um, are you only looking for like the higher speeds? Are you looking for slower speeds when you're doing heavy weights? Like, how do you use velocity based training?
Yeah, so I want to track as much as I possibly can. So we're really lucky to have PERCH here, and so PERCH does a great job on the back end, of taking all the data and then really being able to have individualized load velocity profiles for each guy and each exercise.
Wow.
So at any given point, if I want to prescribe a velocity, I can do that, and then they'll have an idea of what weight to use. Or on the flip side, if I give them a weight to use, it will give them a velocity goal for that particular load based on their history and their load velocity profile.
Got it.
So it drives intent. The safety piece is there too, because if you start to have a velocity drop, or maybe what should be 80% is maybe feeling a little bit heavier than it should be, you're going to have that feedback there directly. The athlete is going to have it. I think if you're working more one-on-one, like people always talk about, no, you don't need VBT because you have a coach's eye. And I understand that when you watch somebody, you can see, is that too heavy, and or is that a little bit slower than what you wanted? Like, does that look like 80%?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's something to be said for being able to see that. The flip side, or the issue is, if I've got the pitchers in here, I've got 20 guys in here at the same time, and we're probably
Yeah.
running 3 to 4 different programs, because there's 3 to 4 different throwing programs going on at the same time outside. So I'm not going to be able to see every single rep
Exactly.
of every single set. Like, it's not possible in my role right here to do it. And whether I do or don't have interns or assistants helping me, whatever, that's fine. But I know for a fact that if I can teach the guys how to use it and what we're looking for and what it should look like, then I know that they can coach themselves. In the best situation, the best strength coaches, in my opinion, and I can't remember where I saw this recently, but if you do a really good job as a strength coach, you're really busy at the beginning of the semester or the beginning of the year, and then you actually get kind of like, I wouldn't say bored, but like you get less busy as it goes on,
Hmm.
because the guys are self-organizing and
Yep.
self-coaching and understanding of what we're doing and why, and they know how it should look, they know how it should feel, and the amount of coaching that you do should decrease as you go on throughout the semester or throughout the year. That's, in my opinion, that's how it should be, because you've done a good job at the beginning establishing standards and movement qualities and you know intent behind things, and all those things and all those qualities that you want. And so your job gets easier because essentially you're creating coaches within the team. So
Yep. Yeah, I tell my leaders on my teams that I've had in the past. I'm at a new school this year, first year head coach, but in the past, my groups have been best when they've been autonomous. When I've taught them how I want the warm up, how I want, certain drills to look, and then the leaders of the team are able to like self correct in the group, and then it's less me unless I see something that's like outrageous, then I can come in and interject. But um, it seems like once you get that point to where your groups are doing exactly what you want and they're able to um, self-regulate and see like, okay, these numbers are off. I think it's time to shut it down. Or holy cow, I'm looking really good right now. Like finding that balance. So that's interesting that you say that as well. Um, in your role, um, is it just you and I'm assuming the director that are um, collaborating on these different plans? Because you said you have like three different pitching plans, or are you in charge of one specific group and someone else is in charge of another? How does that work on your end?
So I oversee everything with baseball and golf,
Got it.
in terms of sports performance. So
Got it.
uh, there's collaboration with, especially our base running coach. So there's collaboration with them and the practice plan and what that looks like. But in terms of, I am the my title is assistant director of sports performance because I'm the third essentially in a chain within the strength and conditioning department. So our director, Mike Rayfelt, oversees the department, but he also has men's basketball. So he does men's basketball. Everything to do with men's basketball, he does.
Got it.
My direct supervisor is Stacy Skadinsky. She oversees everything to do with volleyball, but she oversees the rest of like the assistant strength coaches.
Got it.
Um, then there's myself, and then we have three other assistant strength and conditioning coaches, and each of them has their own sports. So
Got it.
um, Brendan has track and field and tennis. There's certain groups like cross country, jumps, multis, um, and then Kevin has throwers, sprinters, and women's soccer. And then Austin has swim and dive as a group, and then lacrosse as well. So
That's
we
awesome.
all have our own sports that we kind of like 100% oversee. Um, and then from there, we will work together on some things. Like if I can assist them with some of the sports science stuff, I'm going to. Um, we have a group of interns every semester that will help us actually on floor training, and we'll take them through an internship curriculum and continuing education and everything like that. And then there's a lot of collaboration between all of the sports performance coaches as well. I have literally, I'm going to jump on a call with a guy that left here. He's at Pitt now. And our soccer guy here, and we're going to all three just like chop it up a little bit because we haven't all talked since Mikey left for Pitt. So, there's a lot of collaboration and stuff like that. And, if I need somebody to help me out with something like testing, or, hey, I'm going to do this force plate testing, but can you watch these guys on the other
Hmm.
side of the weight room while they're doing this? Like, there's definitely some collaboration there. But in terms of the actual like programming and decision making and stuff like that, if it's baseball, it's me. If it's golf, it's me. And it's my role.
That's awesome. So I know you're busy, so I don't want to keep you any longer. But um, my next question was going to be, how do you continue to learn in your role? Right? You have so much education, you have so much experience, but you just answered kind of that you collaborate with others from the past, people around in the future or in the present right now at different locations. But do you have like a mentor that you've been able to stay in touch with, or how do you continue to learn in your role right now?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's important to find the right mentor for you, and make sure that it's somebody that can help you not only learn things but also connect you with the right people. And I've had that in the past, and I'm really thankful for anybody that I've been able to work for in the past. A lot of like continuing education, I think, is really trying to figure out what you're interested in, and or trying to figure out what your weaknesses are as a coach. So early on in my career, I felt really good about the weight room side of things. And so I wanted to develop the speed portion of and field portion of my kind of coaching like toolbox. So deep dive, really dove into everything Les Spellman and all of his
Yeah.
courses and everything like that. And I think he's an awesome resource, and I've had a couple conversations with him. He's a great guy. And then from there, it was okay, like sports science is maybe the place that I'm lacking a little bit. So how can I get connected with somebody like Matt Aldred at Michigan? And he is unbelievable with force plate data and everything like that. So lucky enough that I was able to connect with him a little bit. And so I think that when you're younger in your career, you're trying to like soak in everything possible. I'm
Hmm.
trying to learn everything. I want to know 531, triphasic, tier system. I want to know all these different programming methodologies and everything like that. And then once you start to develop a little bit, it's trying to figure out where you need to fill in the gaps. And like if I look at like books, like I've got the quadrant system and takeoff. Those are both from Daniel Bove. So that's like the sports science piece. And then you've got like the total flip side, so not the X's and O's, but you've got the language of coaching by Nick Winkelman, which is great for just communication and how to like talk to people. The art of coaching as well is a great book. So you start to do that and start to individualize like, well, what do I need? Like what do I
Yeah.
need to get better at? And I think the things that are most important is to keep a really open mind in terms of you and your development as a coach. Just like you would want your athletes to be open-minded about, hey, look, like, you're getting stronger, which is great, but we really got to work on moving things fast or
Hmm.
moving yourself fast, or we really need to focus on this acceleration work because we're still not getting out of the blocks well. And just like you'd want your athletes to be open to that, you also, as a coach, need to be open to what you're good at because we're all going to
Exactly.
be better at certain things. And so I
Exactly.
think it's really trying to figure out what you need to do to develop and continue to build like your own toolbox and your own skill set. And then finding those weaknesses and then kind of attacking them. Some people, like I know you mentioned Tony Holler, like I think that there's people that are experts in this field in particular things. But for most of us coaches, just like you like the name of your show, like your average coach, I think needs to be really well rounded. If they're in a situation and you get to a situation someday where you are the third assistant on a Power Four football team, and your primary role is return to play from injuries. Like that's where it's like, okay, I need to be great at this. I need to be able
Yeah.
to understand any and every injury and how to help rehab it, almost like a physical therapist.
Yeah.
Or I'm the speed guy on this staff, and I really need to understand the art of acceleration, and I need to understand top speed mechanics and how to analyze those things and how to utilize the 1080. Or maybe you're the sports science person at that staff. Like if you can individualize, then that's great. But in my current role, I got to oversee all of those things,
Hmm.
and so I need to be a really good generalist. And so I try every year to kind of analyze and say, okay, well, what do I need to get better at? So like this year it was I wanted to get a little bit better with like arm care, any like overhead
Nice.
throwing athlete, definitely, baseball strength guys should be good at. So I finally purchased sturdy shoulders with my continuing education fund, and I have gone through the courses and looking at how can we do scapular range of motion but also strength, and make sure that we're doing the best that we can for our throwing athletes and making sure that they're more resilient and less susceptible to injury. So I think just really identifying what you're good at and what you're not good at, and then kind of going from there and really kind of individualizing what you want to get out of it. So
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. It's refreshing to hear young people like me continue to want to learn and educate themselves and not be afraid to take and ask. Like that's the biggest thing. Like that I've learned from starting this podcast is like it's okay to reach out. It's okay to talk to people. It's okay to like have these conversations. And not everybody's like gatekeeping the information. And I just want to thank you again for your time. Um, I think this has been great information. Um, I think the more that I keep talking to you baseball guys, it's pushing me towards my strength and conditioning masters that I'm interested in getting. So, thanks. And my pockets won't thank you guys because it costs a lot of money, but I appreciate your time, and I hope to keep in touch with you, and good luck with your season. And I'll definitely be looking out for Cincy going forward.
yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Reach out anytime.
For sure. UrAvgCoach. I'm out. Dude, that was awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yo,
I mean, be ready to be blown away.
Your Average Coach podcast. Tune in, baby.